So thanks again for joining us for today's Training Tuesday for Top Echelon Network. And we're going to cover today 4 keys to making money as an exporter in our network. And so let me just give you a little background as to why we're doing this session. So if you don't already know this, Top Echelon is just chock full of data. We have all kinds of data points that you can grab at any given time. And one of the most compelling data points, at least for those of you, kind of paying your own bills, right, is this income down here, okay? So these are the top 12 recruiters in our network. And, the number one here is 247. The least top producer is 60 grand. But so that's interesting, right? That's nice to know. But the reason we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about today is this. Let me click on View All here. This will show us all of the top producers, again, actually every last one of the ranked recruiters, and there are literally anybody with stars in our network. But the top 10 here, I just want to kind of let you know of one very compelling thing, and that's this. The percentage of this guy or gal's placement where he or she had the resume, the RDS, or the resume. Okay, so these are the folks that we're going to call exporters, people that provide talent. They don't import talent into a client; they export talent to a client through a trading partner. At any rate, I want you to take pretty close notice to the top 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the top 10, 60%. Of the top producers in our network exclusively give talent to those who have job orders, right? Am I making myself clear here? This is a big thing. Most of the top producers in our network provide great candidates to other recruiters, the importers of our network, to place within their clients. So the idea being, right, is these people, they're dead in the water without you. If you're an importer, they need you. They need this network to make their livelihood, okay? These folks are making good money. 60 grand isn't a ton, but that's a good supplement to their normal income. Now, 247, I don't think anybody would sneeze at a $250,000. And this is over the course of the last 12 months. This isn't a calendar January to January. This is from June 19th of last year to today. That recruiter, Sean, has put 133 grand into his bank account. That's his cut. That's his half. That's what he's paying his bills with, okay? So I'm bringing that up to let you know that there's a lot of money on the table, okay? There are recruiters like Russ, right, who does a little bit of both, but, you can pretty clearly see that Russ is really dependent on other people to bring him good talent, okay? And Dave Scrow the same. So really, that's what I'm here to talk to you about, are actually these folks. Okay, because these folks need you. As a matter of fact, I talked to both of these gentlemen early this week. Actually, somebody here talked to Dave and Russ both, and they lamented that, oh my goodness, if I could just get people to work, my clients are hiring, and they're hiring. I've got a great relationship with them, blah, 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 right? These people are dying. They've got great candidates. They're just dying to bring in enough talent and to interview enough talent to get them placed. So that's why we're talking about this today. Drea Codespoti, he's our network coordinator, membership coordinator. I call him the Chuck Woolery of Top Echelon, because he is always out there trying to make matches between importers and exporters, okay? And so when Dave Scrow came aboard and said, hey, I've got lots of job orders in the IT realm, can you get me some help? Drea connected him with a couple of IT recruiters. We don't have time to hold hands of everybody and matchmake everyone, so what I'm going to show you today is a little bit of how to find a trading partner, but mostly how to really export, how to play the candidate-provider side today. Is this the only way? No. This is kind of the way that things seem to flow well within our network. I've been here for 14 years. Drea has been, the Chuck Woolery guy for the past 5 years. These are techniques and ideas that we've seen recruiters utilize. And we've even kind of made some specific system tweaks to help this system go this way. So first and foremost, you need to decide whether or not you are an importer or an exporter. It's really not hard. If you get right down to brass tacks, and you've only got one client and they're only giving you one order, well, if that's all you've got to work on, then you're probably going to need to find another revenue stream. And so the idea would be, what can you help with? Okay? So, understand that part of this is, who are you? What do you work? I know I can think of a couple of recruiters that are ex-bad guys, right? Guys and gals that have worked in the HR realm in the industry for years and years and retired. And so now they're working as a recruiter on the other side of the fence. Well, they just have an inordinate amount of wealth of knowledge in a particular industry, whether they were engineers or whether they were a plant guy or gal. They have this sort of inside scoop as to what goes on in a niche or industry. I would say that a good number of recruiters are like that. They worked in the industry that they are now recruiting in. So it would be completely ludicrous to completely overlook the knowledge that you have. So first things first, especially if you're a little bit newer to recruiting, is make sure you know where your power band is, whether it's the knowledge that you have in your brain, or maybe it's just a flat out you're kind of you're a slave to your data. I could say for Dave, and I don't think this would be too I don't think this is derogatory. Dave is in recruiting because his dad was in recruiting, and Dave, started recruiting probably when he was 12 years old, but Dave also has a passion for IT. So he's got kind of the best of both worlds there. He likes tech and gadgetry and web and so on and so forth, but he's probably playing in that space because his dad has for years and years and years. So the idea is, don't ignore some of your surroundings. If you came from that industry, gosh, why not? Unless it's a completely dead industry, then you probably have to look at cross-training yourself, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But so don't ignore what you know, what power you have already locked in your brain and knowledge stored in there. So let's look at that. Let's pretend for a moment that you're just now switching gears, Brandy. Let's say when I grow up, I want to be an exporter now. All of a sudden, you're ready to rock and roll, and you want to be an exporter. Okay. The first thing that we would recommend that you do is go over and look at jobs, okay? So you're going to want to go to the Split Jobs tab and click on Search, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to create an alert. Really, all an alert is a search for jobs that runs every night for you and keeps you aware of every new and freshly updated job that comes on. Or candidate. You can do an alert as a candidate alert too. But we're going to be searching for hot new jobs as they come on. So Brandy, I don't know exactly what you work, Brandy, and I'm picking on you just because you're on the top of the alphabetical list here. So let's say for a moment that Brandy works, well, just because it's something I know, I'm gonna say IT. I work DBAs and programmers. That's just what I know. So I'm gonna do a DBA. You know what? How about just IT in general? Dave Scroll works all flavors of IT. So Brandy, I'm going to throw you in that pile. We're going to pretend you're just a general IT job. So I'm going to create a search and call it all IT jobs. The first thing you have to do, you got to give it a name, but the name itself is not what's going to limit the search. It's everything else. So I'm going to start my first search with just discipline code and just the major discipline code, right? Every job that goes into our system must be coded with at least a major discipline. So when an importer is putting in a job, they have to say, this is an IT job, okay? And that's how you do it, with a major discipline code. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down here and make sure that I have really no upper limit of search hits. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to sort by date. So max hits of 10,000, which is the max, and then order by the date. And I'm going to hit run. So right now, throughout our entire database, there are 401 IT jobs, okay? And as I look at things, right, as I start to look at the title, okay, application development, yeah, that's something I can help with. Epic, okay, that's a little more healthcare type stuff, so I'm not necessarily going to need much healthcare. Siemens, oh, that's healthcare. Eclipse, oh, that's healthcare. So we can see here that Chris Burchell is a healthcare IT guy, HIS, I think they call it, information systems. Nothing wrong with that, right? But that's not my power band, so I'm going to skip by that. Then moving on, we've got a pipeline technician, medicine systems analyst, Cerner. There is a lot of healthcare IT, but we're getting down into, okay, Oracle DBAs, developers, network engineers, okay? So that being said, if you are programmers, if all you do are programmers, then it would make sense to just modify that search and come back here and put in a good Boolean search. If you don't know what Boolean is, right here is our little Boolean builder, okay? And it gives you sort of a layman's terms way of you know, kind of entering Boolean. So what we could do here is say, you know what, let's get any form of the word programmer or developer or analyst. I don't know if I could spell analyst, okay? So any form of the word programmer, programming, developer, or analyst, and IT, right? So I'm going to run that. I should see less than 401 here when I run this. 401 was everything that smelled like IT. Well, great. Look what we've got here. Now we've got only 227. So what I'm thinking, although I still have my Epic and HIS guys, but what I'm thinking here is I've got a good subset for the types of people that I'm looking for, okay? Now, we're looking at 227 right now. That's because this is everything in the database. The whole purpose of making an alert, which you do, incidentally, folks, by coming right over here and clicking on this A, now we've got an alert for all IT jobs. What that does for you, you don't have to, quote unquote, remember how to do this, but what that will actually do for you is this. Every night, it will put in dates for you such that you're only going to be seeing the most recently added things since you accessed this alert. So instead of seeing 227 every night, you'll see something, and this is actually pretty high, you'll see something in the neighborhood of anywhere from 3 to 12, in this case 31 thanks to Chris, Not that there's anything wrong with what Chris has done. He's got a lot of need for a lot of HIS guys, but that's not the norm. Usually, you're going to see 3 to 12 jobs a day. A day, folks. These are people that are beating the pavement, pounding the pavement out there, looking for new business, looking for clients hiring. And they are putting this job in the system because they need you, and they want you to work it, okay? So the idea of an alert, tip number 1, keys to being an exporter in this network, is to set up an alert that brings back the kind of jobs that you can help with. Folks, I hear this all the time, and Drea told me he does. Well, they'll call and say, what's hot, Todd? What's the hottest niche out there right now? And we'll answer, right? And you can actually see it. Of course, let me just go back to the main menu here quick. You can look and see what's being placed out here on the main menu, recent completed placements, right? Here's what's hot. You know, these are places, you know, there's a lot of manufacturing going on right now, right? So, what if I'm an IT guy and I say, well, what's hot? Oh, manufacturing? Oh, I've never worked a day in manufacturing. I have no idea what a quality control manager does, but since it's hot, I want to work it. Oh, really? Are you sure? Right? Because what you can't do is fabricate candidates. Especially hard right now in the market that we're in. You know, there's lots of people looking for a job, but there's lots of somewhat crummy people looking for a job. You don't want to scrape them off Monster anymore. That's not the most viable way of working anymore. Most of the great candidates are employed, right? And they're happily situated in their butt in a seat. So you've got to go grab them. You've got to go find them. You've got to go scrape them out of those seats. And that's not easy to do, is just cut ties with what you know and go play in a different niche. So the idea is, with an alert, go in there and set up searches for what you have. People that you've known for years and years, maybe even those that you've placed once or twice. You know how good these candidates are. You know their strengths. You know when they're BSing you with what they know. That's key. So what do I have in my database? Where do my strengths lie? Go set up alerts for your power band. And it might be 1 or 2 alerts. That way, every morning when you're drinking your first cup of coffee, you're being introduced to potentially a brand new member. Chris isn't brand new, but he's newer. Or a guy or gal like Carol Brinkman who's got just great job orders. She's in the top 12. She's doing something right. That's what these 5 gold stars mean. So she's doing something right. She's placing. And so, isn't that an interesting concept? You know, over here, does that mean that Carol's better than Mario or Chris? No. Lately, she's been better. But so the idea is, these stars indicate that this guy or gal knows how to make split placements. So use an alert to get yourself introduced to not only the jobs, but actually look at the people. So yesterday, Mario Fidanzi put on 2 jobs in the IT realm, okay? Actually, sorry, he was pharmacy and nursing, so he's a healthcare IT account. But you get my point, right? Take a look at those folks. Ray Cope, there's a good example. Ray Cope, 3 IT jobs yesterday. If I'm an IT exporter, Brandy, we're pretending that you are. If I'm an IT exporter, then Ray Cope is a guy I need to get to know. And so what you're going to want to do from here is moving on to key number 2. So key number 1, set up alerts in your power band. What data do you have? What knowledge do you possess? Work that niche and work it hard. Okay? So now let's move on to key number 2. And that is, get to know that job and or that recruiter. Okay? So you've got to do this. If you're saying, yeah, Roy, man, Roy's a guy I need to help. This guy, trading IT risk, professional system developers, yeah, I need to talk to Ray. Okay? So go in and study that job. So, you know, many times, and another dilemma, the reason we're doing this training, is we're hearing a lot from importers that they're getting a lot of what we'll call paper slingers, right? This is usually a case where a guy like we've been saying, let's say I've worked in IT all my life and suddenly I want to try manufacturing. And so I think I'm a pretty sharp guy, so I go out to LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, monster searching, and I just suck down thousands of manufacturing resumes. And I do keyword searches or whatever, and it says plant manager in the body of this guy's resume, and it said plant manager in a job, so I'm just going to send it over, right? You're matching up two words, two phrases in the job and the resume and sending it over. That's an extreme waste of time, okay? So what we're proposing here is you've got to look over this job. First and foremost, take a look at the numbers on it, right? If you know, because of your knowledge in this industry, that an application developer at $65 an hour is not a solid order, that nobody is going to want that, well then put that in your pipe and smoke it. Don't work this job. If that's too low, you might just call. Obviously, don't just call them on one data point, but if you look at something and you, after reading the description and studying it and seeing what skills they need to possess and what it's all about, okay, and then you call and say, hey Roy, I was looking at your application developer job, and boy, I got to tell you, it's a little low. Is this where it's at? Is that all? Is this where we're going? You know, is there anything more? Don't forget that sometimes people tend to copy and paste job descriptions, and you know, don't take a lot of time in getting you exactly what you need. That's what we're talking about here, and that is, you know, look at this job and make sure that it is, with your knowledge of that industry, make sure that it is something that is fair, that is something that you know and understand and can you know, reason with that other recruiter. Listen, here's what's not good, right? Again, I'm falling back to that example that I stated earlier, and we get this all too often, is that here I am, my manufacturing clients have all dried up, so I want to work IT. And I land on this job, and I don't really know what an application developer is, so I call Roy. And I say, Roy, listen, I've been a recruiter since God was a boy, and I'm a darn good one, but I don't know squat about IT. Can you help me? Folks, that's not fair. You cannot monopolize another recruiter's time by having them educate you on their niche. Please don't do that. While many people will help, right, and this network is about helping and communication, it's not my job, or it's not Roy Cope's job to teach you about IT. He learned that over the years, whether he was in the niche or got out of the industry and you know, brought his wealth of knowledge in, like we were talking about. It's not his job to teach you IT. Folks, if you want to work a job, then you better go educate yourself and then figure out why a guy or gal is good for that job. So key number 2 is study a job and understand it. And if you don't understand this order and half of the must-haves that are listed in that job order, take it upon yourself to go learn it. Do not ask that other trading partner to teach you. It's just not, it's not good. So that's not good practice. So learn the job, study the job, get a firm understanding of the position, okay? Third key is, once you understand the position, now qualify it. I kind of ruined that earlier, because a qualification is that place where you look at the job and you make sure that it's A, placeable, but B, qualifying it might mean, hey, Roy, I keep calling you by the wrong name. Roy, just, this is kind of a given, but, and you did say it's a good client, fast hire, 1-year contract. You have a signed agreement, right? I shouldn't have to ask, but you have a signed agreement. What's your up here we should see the no guarantee, 1-year contract, major finance institution. Again, it's all about making sure this is a real job. Hey, when's the last time you placed with these guys? What you don't necessarily want to do is just call Ray up and say, who is this? What client is this? Well, he doesn't. You don't need to put him on edge, right? Everybody's worried about people stealing their clients inside or outside the network. So don't throw a guy or gal under the bus and throw the big nasty question right up front. But qualify this job. Once you understand it, call them up. If you don't already know them, now's a great time to start, figuring out what makes this recruiter tick. See what you have in common. Build the relationship between you and the client. Because really, right, this split partner is your client. If you're an exporter, you don't have clients, or you have a couple and not enough to pay your bills, right? You've got to treat this guy as a client or gal. So you get to know Roy. If you're in the same general area, why not have lunch? Or if it's even just a couple-hour drive. But if you figure out that you like the way Roy clicks and you know what his clients like, then this is a person that it's well worth your time to kind of dig in and get to know this guy or gal and learn, how to work with them. Most of the long-standing top producers in our network place with the same people over and over and over again. And if you want to see evidence of that, let's go take a look at Trey Cameron. He's an exporter. Mariah Heminger is an importer. We'll take a look at this. If we look at Trey's recent placements, right, we're going to find that very recently, who were they with? What are we looking at? Date. Yeah. Karen Ackball, Robert David, Joe. Yeah, here was what I was looking for. Look what's happened in the beginning part of this year. Bingo, bango, and bongo. He and Mariah Heminger just were making deals left and right. And that's because Trey got to know how she works and why she works it. And Trey targeted people for Mariah. He was going after what he knew she needed. Okay? I don't know why that stopped. Trey, get back on there. Help Mariah. Maybe Mariah's having a lull with her clients or whatever. But so the idea is qualify that job order and therefore, qualify that recruiter. Really what you're doing is you're figuring out how a particular recruiter, or maybe it's the whole firm, how they work and whether or not it's the kind of firm that you feel like you could work with over and over and over again. Wouldn't it be nice down the road here, as an exporter, you will begin to get this, right? Trey Cameron and Sean Napoles get these calls all the time. Hey, Trey, I see you're a top exporter. Would you please help on my jobs? And Sean and Trey both will be like, sure. Tell me about your clients. Do they pay on time? Do they give you the runaround? What are the last 3 placements you met and how quickly did they pay and this, that, and the other? They have the right to be very choosy with whom they work. And that is because they know, as an exporter, that their time is just as valuable as an importer. Just the whole other side of the coin. So qualify that job order and / that recruiter. All right, last key. to making money as an exporter in our network is, again, treat these customers, quote unquote clients, these recruiters as customers, and qualify the job, qualify the candidate, okay? What I would not want to do, as I alluded to earlier, was, oh, hey, Roy, I have 98 people that their title is application developer. Here you go. And I send them 98 resumes. That's not good. That's not going to work. You're going to make a name for yourself. Roy is going to avoid every call you put into him. Well, I say that. Unless 98 people were in your database and they were right on target, which I find hard to believe by title only. Right? So keep this in mind. What's the process you would submit to your own client? And do that for your trading partner. What would you like a client to do with you? Right? Communicate regularly. If I shoot a resume to Roy on this order, I'm hoping that he's going to call me back, right? But listen, if it's way out in left field, the network policy says that he doesn't have to call you back. So if you send something to a trading partner and you don't hear anything, you better look again at what you sent him. Because one of the network policies states that if it's absolutely no way off in left field, not a match in any way, shape, or form, they do not have to call you back or send you an email, okay? But if it's close, right, you should expect a call back. And if they don't call you back, calling them is all right. Hey, Dave, let's say Roy. We're working with Roy here. Hey, Roy, I sent you a guy last week or yesterday or the day before. I don't want to bother you, but I really believe that this guy is a dead on, right? I looked at your job. He's got this. He has done that, whatever it is. So now, when they have a need, right, so regular communication on your part, but when they communicate back, follow up with them. If they want you to ask how many left-handed widgets this guy or gal is capable of making, get that done for them. Go ask the candidate, yep, hey, have you ever heard of whatever design technologies? Oh, yeah? Well, tell me what you know about them. Get that back to Roy right away. What do you do with the candidates that you find are matches for this position? You don't just send them over to your client, right, and just say, here's the 12 that have application developer in their title. You got to talk to that candidate. You got to see if they're alive, right? If they're in your database and have been for years and years, there's a good chance that they've moved jobs 4 times since the last time you talked to them. So make sure that you're talking to these candidates and just make you know, hey, I've got an opportunity. What do you think? Don't go along with the fact that the candidate thinks they're a fit, right? A lot of web nominations, right? If you've got our hiring hook technology, these candidates come to your website and say, "Oh, Trey, I'm a great fit for this job." "Oh, hey, Roy, this is me." Well, of course they're going to say that. They're out of work or they want the heck out of their old job. So you, especially again, if you're playing in the right niche, you know what an application developer of this caliber should be knowledge of. And so qualify these people and talk to them, okay? And then when you have the candidates, not just the resumes, right, a qualified candidate, then send them to Roy and call them up. So don't just grab the first 20 resumes out of your database that have 3 or 4 of the keywords. Read it over, qualify that candidate. You know, I heard Greg Dorshing talk, and he said something like, if we don't have at least an 80% match, we don't even send them. Okay, and so if 1 or 2 variables are off, you know, that's cause for maybe I shouldn't send this one. But if everything fits and the guy's only off by $5,000 or maybe the relocation is a sticking point, it might behoove you to go ahead and send that guy over. But all of this is, predicated on, the second or third P, and that's, you've got to know what this job is. I guess at the end of the day, folks, the real key to being an exporter in this network is really all of this stuff that we talked about is communication and staying within your power band. If you stay on the phone and or communicate via email to these trading partners, and you treat them as you'd want to be treated, with timely follow-up, with only sending resumes that are in the ballpark, not way out in left field. I guess that's technically still in the ballpark. That's outside the fence, right? So please do these 4 things. 1, create job alerts. As an exporter, you are on the lookout for solid job orders. Go to Split Jobs, create a search alert that runs for you every night that brings back whatever, all of your IT jobs. If you're a manufacturing person, all of the 25s. If you don't know the discipline code, click on Select. Build an alert that brings back jobs in your specialty or niche. Number 2, study the job. Before you waste a moment on searching your database and sending out things with matching keywords, study that job. Did the recruiter put good, solid information on the job? Did they give you enough information to even do a search? Okay? Don't just see 85,000 application developer. Ooh, I'd like 25% of that, right? Don't do that. Make sure you're working a solid job. So point number 3, kind of along the same lines, is qualify that job / recruiter. Okay? Make sure that the recruiter knows that you're about to spend some time on it, and make sure it's still active. Make sure that the guy has a signed agreement. Ask him what his history with that client is. Don't, right, whatever you do though, don't say, first call, right, out of the blue, hey, Roy, what's this client? Don't do that. Talk about starting off on the wrong foot. Don't throw that. That just raises red flags all over the place. Third, second and third are still kind of related. Do not ask this recruiter to train you on his or her niche on this job. And fill in the blanks a little bit, yes. Teach you what an application developer is, no. So please, as an exporter, do your due diligence. Don't just expect a trading partner to teach you recruiting in IT. Not fair, really quite painful for that importer when they're trying to crack out and fill new jobs, and you want them to teach them what a DBA or an application developer is. Not fair, not cool, don't do it. Last, but certainly not least, is do your job. Do what recruiters do best, and that is ferret out the worthless candidates or the almost a match candidates. Do not send close candidates. Only send tight match, very close match candidates. Treat this recruiter, trading partner, as a client. What would you want to see as a client? Treat them like you're submitting to a paying client, because really that's what they are. They can push your candidate through to their client in the best way, especially if they've been working with this client for a long time. If you sell the importer recruiter this client, this candidate, because it's the best match, then he or she will take it and sell it to the guy who pays the check, the company that's paying the bill here. They will shove it through to his or her client, and that makes everyone happy. At the end of the game, it's all about communication. This network is keeping each other apprised and letting you know if you know, if I know that my job is almost filled or I've got 2 in play, I should tell you that, right? And that's, again, that's somewhat a part of qualifying a job, qualifying the recruiter, and being an exporter in our network. All right, folks, that is what I intended to cover today. Again, we do this every 3rd Tuesday of the month for Training Tuesday Top Echelon. I will take any and all questions at this point, so if you have any questions, just chime in the question and answer area or questions module, and you can type in a question and we will handle it.